For him to be tasked with that job shows you his high station with Shaykh bin Baz. There's not a scholar that I've met that has reached that age except that their aql is intact. That they're there with you, mentally, in full capacity, answering questions, asking you questions, debating with you on a mas'ala ilmiya. If you compared with anyone else that's 90 years old, you'll find that they'll be struggling to maybe even remember their own name or their family members and the likes of these affairs. So it's a reminder that we should protect our limbs now that we are young and strong and we have the capability to do things, to protect and hold ourselves and restrict ourselves from the haram. That perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless these organs and limbs for us, and they will be able to use them in khair when we're old, and in the Day of Judgment they will be testifying for us and not against us.
قل لي في الإسلام قولا لا أسأل عنه أحدا غيرك قال قل آمنت بالله ثم استقم.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, Ustadh.
عليك السلام ورحمة الله وبركاته.
How are you?
الحمد لله بخير. كيف حالك؟
Alhamdulillah, jazakallah khairan. So inshallah we'll be continuing, and we'll be moving on to inshallah another shaykh which we hope you can tell us briefly about, and maybe we can get some funny stories like we got previously, or some inspiring stories,
inshallah.
Or we can get some benefits from it, from the etiquettes, from their manners, and how they live this life on this journey to Allah. So the next shaykh we'll be moving on to inshallah is Shaykh AbdurRahman al-Barrak.
Alhamdulillah wassalatu wassalamu ala rasulillah amma ba'd. Shaykh AbdurRahman al-Barrak is from the greatest of the scholars that are alive today, and from the most senior in age too. He's from the senior students of Shaykh bin Baz, rahimahullah ta'ala, rahmatan wasi'ah. And Shaykh AbdurRahman al-Barrak is known for his many lessons and authorships. He's got a lot of books, and he's got a lot of ta'liqat on books that are very important, like the kitab of Fath al-Bari. Fath al-Bari is authored by Hafidh ibn Hajar, and this is the explanation of Sahih Bukhari. In fact, it is the best explanation of Sahih Bukhari, to the point that Imam al-Shawkani, he said, لا هجرة بعد الفتح. Meaning, Aisha radiallahu anha, she narrates from the Prophet ﷺ that he said, after Mecca was conquered and it became a Muslim country, and it will continue to be a Muslim country until the Day of Judgment, لا هجرة بعد الفتح. There will be no migration from Mecca to another city. Before they were making migration from Mecca to Medina. Now Mecca has been conquered, there will be no more migration بعد الفتح, after the conquering. لا هجرة بعد الفتح. So Hafidh al-Shawkani, he says about Fath al-Bari of Hafidh ibn Hajar, his high station and his high virtue, manzila. He says, لا هجرة بعد الفتح.
Okay. The similarities, the Fath, of course.
Fath al-Bari.
Yeah.
That once you got Fath al-Bari of Ibn Hajar, you don't need nothing else. You don't need to move from it to anything else. And so it was printed many times. One of the prints that was printed by Nadhr al-Firyabi, and Shaykh bin Baz had some involvement in it with ta'liqat. And likewise, Shaykh AbdurRahman Nasir al-Barrak had some involvement in ta'liqat, where it was necessary to give commentary if there was an issue or the likes, because Hafidh ibn Hajar was a great scholar of hadith and the likes of its sciences, but the bi'ah that he grew up in, the environment that he grew up in, was an Ash'ari environment. And so at the beginning of his life, a lot of the things that he's going to be exposed to by his teachers and the environment that he's around in Egypt at that time is Ash'ari madhab. Later on, the further down he went, the more he moved away from it, to the point that he is not upon the tariqah of the Ash'ari and the Mutakallimin in any of his authorships, and istidlal and the way they use sources is completely different from the Ash'ari and the Mutakallimin.
Yeah, he still grew up around them.
But he grew up around them.
Wow.
To the point that Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Abbad, he wrote an article mentioning how Al-Hafidh ibn Hajar and Imam al-Nawawi, both of them, they are free from the tariqah of the Mutakallimin, that they both left the tariqah of the Ash'ari and the rest of the Mutakallimin. And that is clear from their authorships and the like, especially the latter ones. But because some of the works that were early on, there might have been bits and bobs that is in agreement to the Ash'ari madhab. And so Shaykh AbdurRahman Nasir al-Barrak, who's an expert in Aqidah, a student of Shaykh bin Baz, came and went through the whole book. And any places that needs commentary, and they're not much, if they need commentary, then he will mention commentary that this is the correct Aqidah in this affair and kada, kada, kada.
Okay.
Shaykh AbdurRahman Nasir al-Barrak. Okay, for him to be tasked with that job shows you his high station with Shaykh bin Baz. Okay, he's still alive today. He's well above his 90s now. When I was in Riyadh, the 3 months I visited the Shaykh's masjid, the Shaykh teaches almost every day, plus 90s. One of the things that amazed me from the Shaykh is that he still leads the salah in that age. And guess what time of the day he's teaching? It's 90s.
After Fajr, probably.
Why Fajr?
Early morning awake.
Okay. I would have said old person, يعني Dhuhr or Asr. But the Shaykh comes Fajr time. And he leads the Salah out loud. And he's not leading Qul Huwa Allahu Ahad, Qul A'udhu Birabbin Nas, because of due to old age, maybe standing. He's reading long. Maybe longer than the normal other masajid that you have around you. Then he finishes, he does his adhkar. Then you go to the back of the masjid and he does his lesson.
After Fajr dies.
After Fajr. So you're right.
I guess right.
I don't know what the other viewers would have said, but my opinion would have been something else. Ala kulli hal. Sheikh, he would teach after the adhkar and the likes. He would go to the back and there will be many students sitting around. And the tariqah that he teaches is like the tariqah of Shaykh bin Baz. And what is that? He will teach more than one book in this session. Meaning, they will start with tafsir, for example. They will start with tafsir ibn Kathir. So they'll read verses from the Quran, then they will read the book of tafsir by Ibn Kathir, and then he will comment any commentary that he needs. Then they will read the tafsir of Shaykh Mahamed al-Shinqiti, the great Shaykh who has got the book Abwa al-Bayan, in the Sharh of the Quran, Abwa al-Bayan, the famous book of Shaykh Mahamed al-Shinqiti. Then they will read other books, some in Aqidah, some in Hadith. What I remember from that session was they read the 2 books of tafsir. They read a book by Ibn Qayyim, Ighathat al-Lahfan. They read another book of Ibn Qayyim and a couple other books I can't remember at the moment. But all of this was happening in an hour and a half session, basically up until sunrise. Maybe even past sunrise a little bit. And he will be nasheed, with energy, commentating, listening, and then there will be a question-answer session.
What's the explanation of, from what we understand when we think, especially myself, when I think of a 90-year-old, thinking, old age, getting looked after and so on. Is there anything in the deen that explains that this having this strength and this energy to do this at this age?
Ahsant. Sheikh, generally, there's many athar that come from the scholars of the past. For example, a man that is leading Taraweeh at 120 years old. Another man getting married at 100 plus years old. Another running and jumping at that age. So they're like, how can you do this at this age? He said, I protected my limbs from haram when I was young. Allah protected them for me when I'm old. Allahu Akbar. There's not a scholar that I've met that has reached that age except that their aql is intact. That they're there with you. Mentally, in full capacity, answering questions, asking you questions, debating with you on a mas'ala ilmiya. If you compared with anyone else that's 90 years old, almost 100 years old, anywhere else in the world, you'll find that they'll be struggling to maybe even remember their own name or their family members and the likes of these affairs, let alone being able to discuss deep, intricate masail ilmiya as if they are 30, 40 years old. Shaykh Abdul Muhsin Abbad that we've spoke about recently, I visited him not long ago, and he's again plus 90s. His legs have given up now. Okay, he can't walk as much. His sight has gone. Is diminished. It's getting very he has to have very big glasses, and I think one of them he might not even be able to see with. But his aql is intact. I visited him in his masjid and I asked him a question. He said, but why do you need this? But what about? And he's asking me questions back. And I'm like, but Shaykh, because of this. Because it's like, no, but like, and then he gave me advice. And I was like, Shaykh,
would the opposite also then be true, that sins has an effect on your aql and, you know, has effect on...
Na'am. Al-mafhum al-mukhalafah, the opposite understanding of that is the person that doesn't protect his limbs from sins, from looking at that which is haram, listening to that which is haram, walking, touching, doing all those things that are haram, when they're at their shabab, their youth, and the peak of their youthfulness, then تسلب هذه النعمة, this blessing will be taken away from you. وأنت أحوج ما تكون إليه. When you're most in need of that blessing, it will be taken away from you. And so it's a reminder that we should protect our limbs now that we are young and strong and we have the capability to do things, to protect and hold ourselves and restrict ourselves from the haram. That perhaps Allah Azza wa Jalla will bless these organs and limbs for us, and they will be able to use them in khair when we're old, and in the Day of Judgment they will be testifying for us and not against us. So this Shaykh Abdurrahman Barrak, I attended one lesson, and that lesson had a lot of ta'theer upon me. The reciting of the Quran, in his old age, Fajr, staying after Fajr up until sunrise, sitting on the floor the whole time. It's not in a wheelchair, he's walking, he's sitting on the floor. Then he has like a long question answer session. People can message in their questions on the website, and a reader will read the questions and he will answer them. And this took place every day, unless he's sick or the likes, but other than that he will be ongoing. And then the Shaykh gets up, and on the way out people ask him questions as well, and then he goes home. And this occurs every day. So if a person's living in Riyadh or can visit Riyadh, and now it's easier to visit Riyadh with the tourist visa, make it a pit stop, that you try to go on one of the weekdays, on a Monday, Sunday, Tuesday, that you try to go and visit the Shaykh's masjid, and perhaps we'll put the link of the masjid in the description if that's possible. And people can go and visit the Shaykh and benefit from him whilst he's still alive. Hafidhullah wa ra'ah.
Jazakallah khair. Many benefits that we just, you know, that we can, inshallah, extract from just the Shaykh's life, and the ability and the strength that you get at teaching that age. Inshallah, we'll continue and we'll move on to another scholar, inshallah. And the next one, inshallah, we hope for you to discuss for us is Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid.
Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid, Hafidhullah wa ra'ah, is from the scholars that is an expert in the bab of Aqeedah. The topic of creed and belief, he's an expert in that. His master's and PhD was in that topic. One of the topics was on the Masail of Aqeedah in the book of Imam al-Tirmidhi. And I remember when we were studying with our Shaykh Uthman Muallim, a kitab, Sharh Aqeedat al-Wasitiyya by Shaykh Muhammad Khalil Harras, there was certain points that we returned back to the book of Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid. And so I actually came to know about Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid through Shaykh Uthman because of the lesson that we had. And he said, we're going to read this book, and he read parts of it. And he said, I really advise you to buy this book by Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid.
You know, when you return back to an explanation of Shaykh's book, are you trying to come across maybe an explanation of something you don't understand at that point? I'm just trying to understand in what scenario you might want to refer back to another book.
It wasn't from us, it was the Shaykh Uthman. So there was a specific mas'ala that we were going through in the book with the explanation of Shaykh Muhammad Khalil Harras, and he said that Shaykh Fahad discussed and mentioned this point really well in his book, in his thesis. And so he brought it out, and we read that portion that we were reading in the other book. We read that in a bit more detail, in a good form that the Shaykh thought, and so we read it to benefit, the extra benefit. We didn't go through the whole book as qira'ah. That's something that you can do in private in your own time. But there's a specific portion that went in line, and that was a nice ard or way to explain it or to bring it about. So Shaykh Uthman brought it for that reason, and we benefited from that. But from there we were exposed to the Shaykh. And so he was also on my tick list of mashayikh to visit. There's always every so often there's a tick list of mashayikh that I want to visit.
I think we say bucket list. That's what people call it nowadays.
Bucket list, okay, no problem. Bucket
list of mashayikh to visit.
Tick list. So Shaykh Fahad Al-Fuhaid, that's how I came to know of him. And some brothers, me and Shaykh AbdurRahman Abu Makkah, we went to Riyadh a number of times, many times. May Allah reward the Shaykh. We've travelled a lot together. We've got a lot of fun memories of travelling to different dawrat and conferences and lectures together. From the times that we visited, we went for a dawrah. That's another topic for another day. But after the dawrah finished, there was another dawrah starting. And Shaykh Salih Usaymi was teaching Shaykh Abdul Salam Shuwair. I attended, but then I had to go back to my family in Medina. The brothers, after I left, a couple of days later, when that dawrah finished, they organized a gathering in the Shaykh's house to go and visit Shaykh Fahad in his house. And the way Shaykh AbdurRahman was explaining it to me is that the Shaykh started talking about the hijrah to Habasha, the migration of the Sahaba from Mecca to Habasha, to modern day Abyssinia, Ethiopia, Eritrea, that area. And he talked about benefits of not just what happened whilst they were there, which is ma'roof in the Kutub al-Sirah, but what occurred whilst the Sahaba continued to be there and the Kuffar of Quraysh left them alone. What occurred? What are some of the benefits we can get from it? And they were really praising the talk that he gave whilst they were eating food, and the Shaykh served them laham and meat and rice, and the Shaykh was speaking whilst they were eating, and they said it's one of the best talks and reminders we've heard. So much so that a couple of years later, me and the Shaykh AbdurRahman were doing a dawrah in one of the masajid in Birmingham, Masjid Tarbiyah, and it's the first time we did the dawrah on Arba'in al-Nawawi, explaining 40 hadith of Imam Nawawi. We finished it over 3 days. Whilst we were doing it, in the end, we had 2 telelinks. Or part of the conference, we had 2 telelinks. One of the telelinks was with Shaykh Fahad. And we asked the Shaykh to talk about that same topic of what occurred in Habasha and the likes of these affairs. And so, Jazakallah khair, he spoke about it, and then it got recorded and it was put on YouTube. The brothers can go back to it. No.
I just want to touch on, you mentioned how the brothers were getting hosted by the Shaykh in his house, and he was, basically teaching them, and how he's combining the acts of good deeds, and doing it. And
the brothers, they were telling me that they wish they could write down the benefits that the Shaykh was saying, but their hands was sticky, full of food. The Shaykh was dropping benefits and gems and durar that were nafisa.
So, Allah Barik, the brothers are telling you about the trip, how it was and everything. I'm sensing some FOMO here,
Yeah, I missed out.
You missed out. Did you manage to, any chance, meet the Shaykh?
So, alhamdulillah, whilst I was in Riyadh for a number of months, I was communicating with the Shaykh. By the way, I've spoken to the Shaykh a number of times through WhatsApp. That he's given us 2 telelinks before I've met him. We've spoken a number of times. I've asked him loads of questions throughout the years. So he knows who I am, but we've never met. So when I moved to Riyadh, I really wanted to meet the Shaykh. So I told him I've moved, Shaykh, and I want to meet you. So the Shaykh said he has a lesson in Riyadh in the main masjid. They have a masjid where the mufti comes. Sometimes they have programs every Thursday that a guest speaker comes, and the mufti sits next to him, Mufti Shaykh Abdul Aziz. He gives a talk, and then the mufti gives commentary afterwards. And so he had a talk like this after Salat al-Maghrib. And so I went to go and visit the Shaykh at the lesson. But the problem was I was new to Riyadh. I didn't know how things work in Riyadh. And one of the problems was I thought the journeys were not that long from place to place. But it's a big city. It takes a long time, especially after Asr till Maghrib. Almost up to Isha, there's a lot of traffic. And I was stuck in traffic almost to Isha.
Missed the lesson?
So I completely missed the lesson. And the issue was or the masjid, that specific masjid, they pray earlier than the other masajid by like 10 minutes. So by the time I reached, Isha's done. So I'm walking in, and I've noticed they've already prayed Isha, and the Shaykh's walking out, and I've seen the Shaykh, I've seen his face online many times. I've gone up to him, and I've given him salam. And the funny thing is, even before this, I was supposed to go to one of his lessons like a couple of days before on a Sunday in another masjid, but I came, something came up with the family, I couldn't go. So another brother from the students in Somali brother that studies in King Saud University, I'm not going to mention his name, he went to the Shaykh, he went to the lesson, and he went to the Shaykh, gave him salam afterwards. And the Shaykh said to him, Mahamed AbdurRazaq, Hayakallah, gave him salam. He said, no, Shaykh, I know Mahamed AbdurRazaq, but that's not me.
Yeah.
Because I was supposed to go, but I couldn't go.
He was
because of the
expecting
family.
you then.
He was expecting me.
Yeah.
So I was surprised. So this lesson now, I've gone and I've missed Isha and he's on the way. I'm walking with him, I've given salam. And I've told him, he goes, okay, I was waiting for you the other day. What happened?
Yeah.
We talked, we were catching up a little bit. Then the Shaykh says, have you prayed Isha? He stops. He stops the conversation. He says, have you prayed Isha? He said, no, Shaykh, I was stuck in traffic. He's like, go pray. And then, inshallah khair. He said, Astawdi'ak Allah, go and pray. I said, Abshir. So
Was he waiting for you?
I didn't know. I thought he would have left.
Yeah.
I prayed. I came back and he was actually waiting. He sat down next to a pillar and he had another student with him and he was just waiting for me.
Allah.
So I came back and I was like, Shaykh, I didn't know the traffic is like, yeah, in Riyadh, there's certain times you leave and certain times you don't leave, especially if you're going far away. Ala kulli hal, I learned later on. But some of the brothers came and we sat down and we talked to the Shaykh and he welcomed us and he was very nice the way he treated us. He said, I invite you to my house. What are you guys doing on Saturday? I said, Shaykh, I'm not doing nothing on Saturday, I'm free. Saturday, khalas, you come to my house, inshallah. I said, Shaykh, I was with a couple of brothers, can they come? He said, marhab, ya marhab, come.
Amazing.
So we all went to the Shaykh's house and I was with some of the students in Imam Saud, one brother that was in Medina that graduated with us, but was working there in Riyadh now. We all went together. We brought some gifts for the Shaykh and we gave it to him and the Shaykh said, what's the need? I said, Shaykh, هل جزاء الإحسان إلا الإحسان? Is there any, there's no reward and recompense for the one that does good except good. Shaykh, you've done so much ihsan for us over the years. Telelinks, answering our questions, doing it's the least that we could do. So Shaykh accepted it and we sat down and the brother was reading Aqidatul Wasitiyya. That brother that was sitting with him that day was reading Wasitiyya. He came from another city as well. So he read Wasitiyya and the explanation of the Shaykh, it was so personal, the Shaykh, the way he's explaining it to you. He got at the Mus'haf one time and he said, look, page 2 of this surah, look how Allah Azza wa Jalla says this, says this, says this, and then look, Allah mentions this. It's just the way he was doing it, it was Allah Barak. He's serving us tea, he's giving us food, and Allahumma barik, he went way above in terms of how he hosted us and the likes.
Is it common that you meet new people maybe in the house of another Shaykh? Like for example, you met this brother. Did you know the brother at that time?
No.
Oh.
So the Shaykh knows him.
Yeah.
He was a Saudi student from another city, but he introduced him to, this is one of my students and the likes. That occurs often. Many times we've met people. He ended up having another relationship with them, keeping contacts with them through that. But what I did notice is this was like a pattern that the people of Riyadh and the Mashayikh, of Riyadh are different to the Mashayikh of Medina. In Medina, it's not as common that you get invited to a Shaykh's house. Whereas in Riyadh, it's very common. And you're going to see throughout, inshallah, that there's more that invite us to the house. Shaykh Asim Qaluti invited us, Shaykh Fahad, Shaykh Azam Shuwayer. Other Mashayikh, they all invited us to their houses.
I think it befits his character because from what you told us previously, he was available for you on Telelink before meeting you. He was, answering questions.
Shaykh Fahad is ghair. Shaykh Fahad, Allah Barik, I don't know, he's different, even in terms of how he gives extra khidmah to people from the West. The way he's there for them, available, nice, the way he treats them. Maybe it's because he's visited the UK a lot. He's visited throughout the last more than 15 years, he's been visiting a lot. So he knows how we are, and the likes. Maybe, Allahu Alam. But Shaykh Fahad, Allah Barik. But the rest of the Mashayikh, they do that. The reason for that is, I believe, is that Riyadh there's not as many students, especially students from abroad. Imam Saud University and King Saud University, if you used to add up all their students that are abroad, they are nothing compared to how many students in Medina.
Are they both? Are both those universities in Medina?
King Saud and Imam Saud are both in Riyadh. Okay. And Islamic University of Medina has 16,000 students. Maybe 80% of those students are from abroad, from 190 plus different countries. To the fact that they got the Guinness World Record for how many different nationalities that they have. Yani, just to show you how big the amount of students are. Compared to all the other universities in Saudi, it's not that much. So there's not that many students. And even if there were, Riyadh is very big. If you compare it to the UK, Medina's like Birmingham. or a bit smaller. And Riyadh is London. Medina and Birmingham, you can get from A to B. From the furthest point to the furthest point, what? 20 minutes? 30 minutes? Riyadh and London, you want to go in the same area.
Yeah.
Hi, Shaykh AbdurRahman. You're in the same area. Traveling for maybe an hour.
Yeah.
So that's how Riyadh is. So the students, the mashayikh, they live far away from the university campus.
Makes sense.
And it's a lot more expensive. There's many factors to play, but it's hard to go around to go to the scholars, even if you were a student there, if you don't have a car.
Okay.
That's why the university used to sort out buses for the students to go to the lessons of Shaykh Fawzan or to go to the lesson of Shaykh Al-Fuhaid. And now Shaykh Fahad teaches at university, and King Saud University, he teaches at Masjid, and King Saud University sort out buses for students to go to the Masjid.
Okay.
So not many people go to the scholars, especially the Masjid in person and the like. So if they do come, they have a lot of time, and if a student comes, they bring him close.
I think this might be an incentive for students that want to
go
apply
study
to
in
go study in Riyadh.
By the way, this applies to Jizan as well. This applies to Jeddah as well. This applies to maybe even Mecca, maybe. I'm not too sure about Qasim. I've heard they're very conservative. That's their culture. But generally speaking, anywhere that you go where there are scholars, forget Saudi Arabia, any other country as well, wherever there are scholars, and there's not overcrowded amount of students coming to them, then they don't have a problem inviting you to the house. You go to Morocco, they'll invite you to the house. That's the asl that they would do. But because Medina is so
saturated with students,
there's too many students. If they were to invite, there would be another 1,000 people waiting to try and come to the house. It was too much. Illa ahwal nadira, if you get close to your teacher, that's a professor, and they invite to the house. And that still happens, but compared to Riyadh.
So the Sheikh's travelled to the West a few times,
Many times.
Many times, okay. Yeah.
To the point that he's had a hand in helping a lot of shabab come away from, especially back in the day, the ideology of the Khawarij and Takfir to the Sunnah. I know personally some brothers that lived in areas in parts of London where that was the majority of the people upon the idea of the Khawarij and Takfir. That they were getting whispers of this. So Shaykh AbdurRahman told me, maybe Shaykh AbdurRahman can talk about it another time. Shaykh AbdurRahman told me that he had some friends and family members that lived in that area. Shaykh Al-Fuhaid visited London. They told him, the Shaykh said, take my number. And he took their numbers and he said, I'll call you. Imagine someone that's celebrity says, yeah, I'll call you. I'll take your number, I'll call you. In the dunya, would they ever call you?
You probably think he's probably not going to get around to calling you.
He's trying to get rid of you.
Yeah.
Shaykh actually called them back. They were young, he called them back. She said, Shaykh, there's some shabab with me, they have some questions and some doubts. And the Shaykh gave them time, explained it to them, clarified it to them, to the point that those brothers left that. They're still upon the Sunnah till today. And that was a couple of decades ago. So ala kulli hal, Shaykh Fahad Jazakallah khair, and he continues to author books in Aqidah and Masail of Creed, and it's still being authored. Till recently, one of his books came out in talking about the Haqiqat al-Ibadah and the likes. And he still visits the West, not as much as before, but he has a lot of juhud. And we try, whenever we go, to try and visit the Shaykh and benefit from the Shaykh, his mannerisms. That sitting that we had in his house, one of the benefits that I remember is the Shaykh exposed us to a book referred to as Al-Munadhara ala Kitab Al-Aqidat Al-Wasitiyya. Al-Munadhara, the debate that took place over the book Al-Aqidat Al-Wasitiyya. What's the topic about? It's talking about, basically, in short, Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah was accused by some of his opposers that he is spreading and authoring false beliefs in creed and spreading it to the people.
He's the one that authored this book.
Okay,
yes. Understood. Yeah.
And so Shaykh, the ruler of Egypt at that time was told about this. So he went to the governor and he sent a letter to the governor of Syria, of Sham that time. That's where Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah is. He told him to go and double check. So the ruler brought Shaykh Islam ibn Taymiyyah, and he brought the greatest, or the marja reference points for the madhab of Imam Ahmad, Abu Hanifa, Imam Malik and Shafi'i, all the four madhahib. Their scholars and their jurists, the greatest of them, he brought them into the sitting. He brought the heads of the Ash'ari, he brought the heads of the Sufiya, he brought the heads of different groups. Okay? And they all sat in order to discuss this topic. So Shaykh Islam bin Taymiyyah, he says, I don't want to talk about my aqidah and try to make it seem like I'm making it up on the spot right now. So I will tell you about a book I wrote 7 years ago, or 7 years before the Tatar came to attack. And so they brought his book Aqidat al-Wasitiyah, which he wrote many years ago. And they read the book from cover to cover in front of all of those people of knowledge. And whenever they had an issue, they would mention, what do you mean by this? Do you mean this? Why are you saying this? Does this mean that we are all astray? Is this? They asked him questions. And Shaykh Islam bin Taymiyyah continued answering, up until, and in some mentions it was over 3 sittings, up until it mentions that all of them came to an agreement and they had ijma' between them, consensus, that this aqidah that he wrote is sahih. It is authentic, it is correct, it is free from any mistakes. Allahu Akbar. So this is referred to as al-munadhara. And he's explained this in a message I found on YouTube afterwards. But this book, I have niyyah and intention to translate it because there's many benefits in there that a person can benefit from, even in the English language.
The Shaykh Fahad is the one that...
Shaykh Fahad is the one that exposed us to this book. This is the first time I heard about it. Afterwards, I went back. You can find it in Majmu' al-Fatawa, in volume 3, where it talks about Aqidah. This book is in Majmu' al-Fatawa. It's also printed separately.
Did he do an explanation of this book, Shaykh Fahad?
Sheikh explained it in a lesson. It's on YouTube where he explains it. But for us, he was just mentioning it as a side benefit, and he summarized the story for us as well. So may Allah reward the Sheikh. I still have contact with the Sheikh, and I still benefit from him. I believe Shaykh Abdul Edge, one of our close brothers, the supervisor of Abdul Edge for his master's thesis, which is talking about the nation of Islam, is Shaykh Fahad.
Okay.
And so it will be nice to see the benefits that Shaykh Abdul Hamid had from Shaykh Fahad in the future if he talks about him, inshallah.
May Allah bless him.
Barakallah feek.
Jazakallah khairan, Ustad, for giving us opportunity to go through briefly some of the lives of some of the scholars we covered. And Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.